The worst situation any general wants is a two-front war. And the way we talk about a two-front war is as if we are playing some kind of a Xbox 360 kind of a game. And war in itself is a very serious business, but a two-front war is something which every country, regardless of whether it is a superpower, middling power like India, or even a small state, wants to avoid. It's a disaster if you have to fight on two fronts. Does that mean that you should not be prepared for a situation given the condition on India's borders where you could, and it's very imminent, you could face a situation when both the fronts are very hostile. हमारी जितनी भी जंगें हुई हैं उसमें हर बार हमने ये देखा है दो फ्रंट तो नहीं खोले थे, but every time what we have noticed is that when we were fighting against the Pakistanis, the Chinese did mount pressure on our eastern borders. So we had to keep a part of our army engaged out there. अगर वो हॉस्टाइल हो जाती सिचुएशन वहां पर तो आपके लिए बहुत ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम्स हो जाती। हमारी ना तो जो कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव नेशनल पावर है वो टू फ्रंट वॉर को अलाउ करती है और ना ही हमको टू फ्रंट वॉर की तरफ जाना चाहिए। एंड दैट इज व्हाई टू अवॉइड अ टू फ्रंट वॉर what you need is diplomacy to make sure that you don't have to fight on two fronts simultaneously. There could be a situation where you might face a two front war, and if you do face that, then you have to use all elements of power to combat, but that will be a defensive war. And to initiate a war on two fronts, like many people very often in a very cavalier manner advocate कि जी हमको अब POK में हमको अपनी फौजें घुसा देनी चाहिए। रूस ने यूक्रेन में अपनी फौजें घुसा करके देख लिया कि क्या होता है। एंड वन ऑफ द थिंग्स एवरी जनरल विल टेल यू, एवरी जनरल वर्थ हिज सॉल्ट विल टेल यू, वो नहीं कि टाइम स्केल जनरल बनने हैं, लेकिन केपेबिलिटी से जो जनरल्स बनते हैं एंड थिंकिंग जनरल्स विल टेल यू दैट wars have a very bad habit of going wrong. So yes, you need to be prepared to fight a defensive war on two fronts, but hope that you'll be able to avoid fighting on two fronts, because that will be an unmitigated disaster.
Remember, it was Hitler pretty much lost the war because he opened the second front without finishing the first front. And there's a lot to be said about Germany having better officers and better equipment and still losing a two-front war. Shivji, your opening comments.
First of all, I'd like to thank Jaipur Dialogues and Sanjay Dikshit ji for this wonderful opportunity. And I also just want to point out something that Swami Vijnananand said yesterday. We shouldn't be sitting showing our shoes at the audience. So I took off my shoes. Thank you, sir. Now I have only 2 minutes. I'll make 2 points. Put on my glasses first. First of all, I don't think there's going to be a two-front war at all at the border unless we initiate it. There are very many reasons. I can't go into those reasons, but the coordination that China and Pakistan would require is very high. And there are a lot of other, supposing Pakistan starts losing or China starts losing, are they going to pull out the troops from here? So these are all problems. We will have to start the two-front war, which I doubt if we are going to. The thing which I really came prepared to talk about, and I'm willing to say, is this fear that all Indians have. And I'll just list those fears. I won't go into the details. The truths that have been banged into our heads. Oh, China has an economy that's 5 times bigger than us. They're not going to throw the economy at us in the war. China has armed forces that are 3 times larger than us. This is one of the deadly fear. We are shivering, kaap rahe hain, this is what we are doing. And that they have thousands of missiles aimed at us, and they have 5-tier air defenses, and they are expanding their border infrastructure. And of course the IAF is small and becoming smaller. I have points to refute and reassure people about all these things, but I need time for that. It won't be done in 2 minutes.
We'll do that during the conversation. Aarti?
Thank you, Jaipur Dialogues, Sanjay ji, for inviting me here. This is my first time at Jaipur Dialogues. Well, I want to begin by saying that the title, 2.5 Front War, Are We Ready?, is actually a very misleading title, because I do not believe that this is just a 2.5 front war. It is a multiple front war. And I'm going to give you in very brief the evidence to the fact that it's a multiple front 360-degree war. Although my friend Sushant and speaker Shivji said that China-Pakistan axis is a huge threat and they are in an alliance, which all of us know. But we must remember from history that, one, Pakistan became a nuclear state not only because of China, but also because of the United States of America. तो ये भ्रम में रहना कि सिर्फ चाइना और पाकिस्तान का एक्सीज है, ये गलत होगा। हमें याद रखना चाहिए कि 1971 में यूएसएस एंटरप्राइज बे ऑफ बंगाल एंटर करने वाला था और उस वक्त अमेरिका और ब्रिटेन दोनों कंट्रीज जिसको हम आज अपना स्ट्रेटेजिक अलाइज मानते हैं, वो उस वक्त पाकिस्तान के साथ खड़े थे। तीसरी बात ये कहना कि सिर्फ चाइना और पाकिस्तान हमारे दुश्मन हैं और उन लोगों के साथ हम लोगों के फ्रंट्स जो है, नॉर्दर्न फ्रंट, ईस्टर्न फ्रंट, वेस्टर्न फ्रंट, वहां से लड़ाई होगी, ये बिल्कुल गलत है। क्योंकि पिछले 40 साल का रिकॉर्ड जो है पाकिस्तान का और चाइना का, उसमें यूएस उतना ही कंप्लिसिट है जितना चाइना है। तो ये इस गलतफहमी में नहीं रहना चाहिए। अमेरिका का रोल क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म में जो कश्मीर में पिछले 40 साल से पंजाब में खालिस्तान मूवमेंट में रहा, वो हमें नहीं भूलना चाहिए। और आखिर में मैं ये कहूंगी कि इंटरनल जो एक वॉर चल रहा है, जो सिविलाइजेशनल वॉर की बात हम कल से कर रहे हैं, उसमें भी पाकिस्तान के अलावा अमेरिका, चाइना, यूनाइटेड किंगडम, वो सभी मिले हुए हैं। उन सबका एक रोल है, उसको नजरअंदाज नहीं करना चाहिए।
Thank you. Yusuf?
Thank you, Jaipur Dialogues, and thank you for the audience, the presence over here. I'll pick up from where Sushantji and Shivji left off. One, we don't want to fight a two-front war. Secondly, overestimating the threat of a two-front war and even the overestimating the capabilities of our enemies and then preparing based on that will lead to a wasteful expense of a lot of our money and our resources. But then what do we do if there is a real credible threat of a two-front war? And as Sushantji said, we'll have to use all our might to prevent a war from happening. And there are 4 ways in that. The first one is to dissuade the enemy. What do you mean by that? Is persuade the enemy in many non-military forms that, waging a war against us is going to be very costly. And how do you do that? We do that with our economic strength, our diplomacy, our multilateral partnerships that we have, multilateral groupings that we have, waging psychological warfare on the enemy, policy measures, just to make sure that the enemy knows that it's going to cost it a lot. This is something that we're doing right now as we speak on the China front. Since 2020, we're trying to dissuade the Chinese from going more than what they have already done by banning apps, getting them out of certain areas of our sectors where the investment is banned. They're not allowed in the 5G. We are taking action against some of the companies. Yeah, so what we are doing is telling China that you will be out of the 1.4 billion people market if you are going to pursue your hostile acts against us. So this is part of this dissuasion thing. Second one is deterrence. Our military readiness to convince both Pakistan and China that any acts against us is going to be costly for them because we will be able to hurt them in certain manners that will hurt their ability to wage war against us. So deterrence is a key part. The third one is nuclear weapons. Can we imagine 3 nuclear-powered countries going to war with each other? I don't think so. The other one is we have a nuclear no first use policy. I think this was drafted back in 2003, and it's long overdue for a revision, considering the current security and geopolitical situation. Now, in the true front situation, if Pakistan attacks us from one front, they have a very low threshold of nuclear weapons. They do have a low threshold of nuclear weapons, and we'll cross that threshold. And that would open up India actually using nuclear weapons, or at least threatening to use nuclear weapons against China. And then China is not going to allow that to happen. So Pakistan is actually going to be worse off if it tries to attack India in a two-front situation. And finally, the war strategy if the deterrence fails. And this part is, again, if we are able to open fronts against Pakistan, deep ingress, cross that threshold, are they going to be better off than they were before the war? Will they be able to meet any objective? Will China be able to meet any of its objectives? And that is where showing the intent to fight will form part of deterrence.